What's up, fight fans? Welcome to Sportskeeda MMA's daily news roundup for March 7th. UFC 272 just wrapped up, and the main event saw a wrestling masterclass from Colby Covington. The reigning champ Kamaru Usman was in attendance and weighed in on Covington's performance after the fight. Usman also hinted about the future and had this to say: UFC 272 came to a close as expected. I knew Covington's wrestling was going to be the big difference. Masvidal had his moments in there, but Covington did his thing. So maybe down the line, I smash. What a deeply detailed analysis of his son's performances. As of today, the welterweight division is now waiting on two major fights: Usman vs. Leon Edwards during International Fight Week, and Khamzat Chimaev vs. Gilbert Burns at UFC 273. Now with Colby Covington seemingly going down his American top team for potential opponents, there's a chance we won't see him fight for a title until he's done settling his score with Dustin Poirier. Just after his dominant win, Covington made it clear that Poirier was next. I just took care of Miami street trash, now it's time to take care of Louisiana swamp trash. Where you at, Dustin Poirier, you cuck? You said it's on site, name the site, Dustin. Bring that Jezebel of a wife and bring that little kid and I'll see you soon. You're next. It actually makes a ton of sense for Covington to call out Poirier. Not only is it another grudge match, but another high-selling grudge match, and he would be more active than Kamaru Usman this year. Do you think Usman vs. Covington 3 is inevitable, or are there other contenders that are ahead in line? Jake Paul decided to put on his Sean Shelby mask after UFC 272 and proposed a colossal fight. On Twitter, Paul suggested this matchup. We already know Conor can't finish Diaz. Right fight to make is Masvidal vs. McGregor. 50-50 fight. Ends in KO. Both can throw and both have weak chins. While Jake Paul's analysis is only based off the experience of knocking out 40-year-olds, he may have a point about McGregor being unable to finish Diaz. And the hype for the trilogy fight may be ramping up. Both McGregor and Diaz have had a fun back and forth on Twitter over the last couple of days. But Diaz has his eyes set on the most popular call-out right now in Dustin Poirier. McGregor doesn't need to do anything at this point, but fans still believe that he needs to prove that his accumulated wealth has not dampened his fighting fire. And now with Masvidal needing something to prove after a 3-fight losing skid, why not fight the highest paid man in combat sports? Does Jake Paul have a point? Is Masvidal vs. McGregor the fight to make? Colby Covington was involved in a bit of counterintelligence leading up to UFC 272. During the face-offs, Masvidal was seen pointing at Covington's knee and saying, "What happened to your knee, huh? What happened to your knee? You got cortisone for your knee, huh? You got cortisone on your knee, is that true?" This led to some speculation that Covington was dealing with a knee injury, and that maybe his wrestling would not be at 100%. But Covington put those rumors to rest with his performance, and by admitting that he was the one that started them. In a post-fight interview with Lara Senko, Covington had this to say: "Nah, I had no injury. It's funny, I did that intentionally. I told someone that was close to us, because I wanted to see where his loyalty was, you know? He said he was all Team Colby, but now I know he's Team George, and you know, he's a little rat, so I can't trust people going forward. And I'm gonna keep my circle even smaller than it is." Either cortisone is ridiculously strong and Colby ragdolled Masvidal with a bum knee, or his knee was fine and Colby actually exposed a double agent. What do you guys think happened with Covington's knee? Was it a good old-fashioned nothing burger, or did Covington actually play Masvidal both inside and outside the octagon? Dana White recently confirmed that the upcoming fight between Khamzat Chimaev and Gilbert Burns will be a #1 contenders fight. Many fans eagerly anticipate the return of Chimaev after disposing of Li Jingliang without any resistance late last year, and now he's set to face someone with legitimate threats. Burns is also coming off a win over Wonderboy, and while his performance was not as definitive, he proved that he still belonged in the elite top 5 after losing to Usman. Now both men are essentially fighting to get into title contention, and the only stakes that are higher than this is the belt itself. During the UFC 272 press conference, the Schmo asked if Chimaev vs. Burns would be the #1 contender fight, and Uncle Dana simply said, "Makes sense." This is no doubt incredible news for both men, especially Chimaev, who was seen in attendance at UFC 272 with none other than his new best friend, Darren Till. Although, the man of the hour, Colby Covington, might have something to say about that. Recently, Covington shared his thoughts on Chimaev with Michael Bisping and had this to say: "Chimaev, you know, I feel bad that his mom named him you know? Who would do such a thing? It's so rude, man. Earn your way up and no problem, I'll kick you right back down. I love destroying hype trains. I'm gonna destroy one hype train this weekend in Masvidal. He's never gonna be the same ever again. With Khamzat, you know, win some big, formidable fights and we can talk. Until then, stop trying to hype this kid up. These hype jobs, they could really get hurt inside this octagon." Colby is 1 for 2 so far on that prediction, and it would be wild to see how Covington's All-American Wrestling matches up to Chimaev's freestyle wrestling repertoire. Do you think Chimaev would want to get revenge on Covington for butchering his name for trolling purposes? And last but not least, Dana White revealed that newly minted UFC Hall of Famer Khabib Nurmagomedov was a bit angry during UFC 272. During the post-fight press conference, the Schmo asked him what Khabib's emotions were like after the Hall of Fame announcement, and White had this to say. "He was pissed off tonight. I don't know what happened to Khabib tonight. I kept telling him, what pissed you off tonight?" Besides Uncle Dana throwing Islam Makhachev under the bus for seemingly ducking Rafael dos Anjos, there could be something to say for the fact that Tim Elliott got the better of one of Khabib's star pupils in Tagir Ulanbekov, and Khabib had a double shift octagon side as he also had to corner his cousin Umar right after. Fortunately, Umar secured a first-round rear naked choke finish over Brian Kelleher, sparing Khabib from feeling like complete the rest of the night. I mean, could you imagine having both your fighters lose back-to-back and then having to sit through a Hall of Fame celebration? I mean, that's kind of what happened, but only half as bad. That about does it for Sportskeeda MMA's most exciting news from the MMA world. Here is one final question for you fight fans. Do you see Umar Nurmagomedov fighting a ranked opponent this year, especially after securing 2 dominant finishes to start his UFC career? Don't forget to subscribe and follow Sportskeeda MMA on all our social media platforms. I'm Alex, and as always, thanks for tuning in.